Hey, welcome, entrepreneurial agent listeners. Today, I have the distinct privilege and honor to invite Vickie Coleman on our show. She's a top 5% award winning realtor out of the Richmond, New Kent County area of Virginia. She's much more than that, though. She's totally engaged in community, family, married, mom, two daughters, grandmother, and sits on the board of the Fatherhood Foundation of Virginia. Does a ton of things in addition to real estate. So I'm excited to learn all about what she's doing and how she's putting it all together and make it all work. So Vickie, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me. That was a nice introduction. I'll take it. I'll take it. I love it. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me, and I do appreciate those kind words. Yep. And I am what did you say? A full-time realtor. Let me go back and see what you said. Full-time realtor. I do.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I do feel like I wear so many different hats when it comes to being a realtor, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and my children all live within 5 minutes of me. So,
Oh, wow.
so when my husband and I, we bought a rural place out in New Kent, and they followed us. So it's kind of fun. I thought they would certainly stay in Richmond or wherever they are, but no, they moved and they bought houses really close by. So we see each other almost daily.
Wow. Well,
I know.
that's great that they moved by, but they didn't like move back into the house, right?
You
So
have a point.
so they really want to be near you, but they're
Yeah.
not sort of, taking
Yeah.
advantage.
Well, I had a little idea when I became a realtor. So I tell my kids, owning real estate is really, really important. Get your own house. So you don't have to worry about that.
That's right. You're going to start building wealth when you're young,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Build your homestead, your family, and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Well, hopefully one day I'm as fortunate. I have a daughter who is out in Blacksburg at
Mhm.
school right now, and she's actually going to go in the Air Force. So when she graduates, so I don't know
Okay.
exactly where she's going to land, but
Yeah.
hopefully eventually she'll be back in our area. Um,
So freak. It is wonderful to have them close by. That's for sure. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Well, tell us,
Yes.
how'd you get in real estate? What's the story? You've got so many things going on here.
Yeah.
Obviously, you didn't probably just come through school and say, I want to be a real estate agent. It's been your lifelong dream.
That is correct. Yeah. I was a full-time, I worked up until I had our first daughter, and
Hmm.
then I wanted to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. I
Hmm.
knew early on that I wanted to homeschool both of our daughters. And so I was at home with them and never thought about real estate, to be honest with you. And that was not something on my radar, but we homeschooled our daughters all the way through to college. And when the last one was getting ready to go to college, she had gone to community college for a year. And she said, Mom, I have no idea what I want to do. So she was friends with someone that was friends with a local realtor in the Richmond area. And he said, her friend said, you should meet with him. You should become a real estate agent. Telling my daughter this, my youngest daughter. And so she met with him, and she came to me. She goes, I think I'm going to I'm going to go to real estate school and get my real estate license. Why don't you do it with me? We'll be a mom-daughter team. I'm like, oh, well, that could be fun. I'd always been the person that connected, like in our community where we lived at the time, if someone was moving and there was a house on the market or there was an open house, I was always trying to help someone else find a house. So I thought, well, this could be fun. I love connecting and, I love real estate. I love decorating. I was just thinking all those things. So anyway, to try to make a long story short, we went to real estate school together, passed the exam. I passed it the first time. She struggled a little bit. But anyway, I went ahead and got my license, at a local brokerage in Richmond. And after she saw what I was doing and how hard it was, you got to cold call, you have to knock on doors, you got to work that sphere, all those things you have to do. She goes, I have no interest in what you're doing whatsoever. That does not interest me in the least. I said, well, there goes my mother-daughter partnership. And I took off. Paul, I loved it. I sold 21 houses my first year.
That's great.
And I just really leaned into my sphere and my friendships and, knocking on doors. I did a lot of cold calling, but I just fell in love with the business. And that's how I got started in it. So I tell my daughter all the time, you're not in it, but you still benefit because she helps me. So she helps me a lot with social media, and she went on and got her communications degree. So anyway, that's how that all started.
That is a funny story.
Yeah.
So she got you in and she really never got in herself, but it was really
Mhm.
kind of cool that she recognized, I think to her credit that she recognized that this was not
Right.
what you were doing to make it work is what it
Mhm.
takes.
Mhm.
And it's not, you just hang a shingle and all of a sudden you got more work than you can handle, right?
Right, right.
It takes effort and energy and
Yeah.
all in. And she saw that. She's like, hey, not for me.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people, young, old, it doesn't matter. You have to really
Mm,
want this business. You have to, well, any kind of sales. I mean, you have to, it's a daily thing. I hate to use the word grind, but in some ways it is a daily grind. I mean, there's certain things you must do daily to get the sales, and you have to constantly be, it's not just about you constantly have to be learning, I guess,
mhm,
learning. I even think I may be getting ahead of myself a little bit, but the past few years in real estate, it has been, I was just telling my husband this morning, it's been a frenzy. It's
mm,
been just, you know, I, I mean, I think if you could fog a mirror, like they said back, what was it, 2005, 2006, if you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan. I
mm.
feel like if you could fog a mirror, you could sell a house. So many people got into the business, but they're not even learning how to do the business. Like now they're having to go back and go, oh my gosh, if you got into it the past 2 years and you didn't learn how to create business and, care about people and relationships, build those relationships, now you're standing there like a deer in the headlights going, oh boy, because now you got to learn it or you're not going to be in it. So,
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Because it was a totally different environment.
right.
It was unreal and unsustainable.
Yeah.
And those that are waking up to the fact that they have to do what your daughter saw might be
Mhm.
making the decision they're going to move on and change careers again. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that's going to happen. I heard someone say, well, a broker in the Richmond market who has a very large group of realtors in her brokerage. She had a meeting with them and she said, 90% of you in this room will not be here next year.
Mm.
And that's pretty eye opening. And you hear that a lot. You're starting to hear, you know, you got to work. You got to work. And real estate is not easy. People think it's easy, but it's not. There's some conflict. I mean, I've dealt with some interesting and dealing with one right now. So you just have to, and even my own personal experience. I mean, I had one that had I not been the realtor and know what I know, I
Mhm.
mean, we were able to get our $10,000 deposit back
Mm.
because of another realtor on the other side that basically there was a RESPA violation. He could have gotten in serious trouble. I don't even, that's one of those crazy stories. But if I didn't know what I knew and I just was a new realtor and you don't know these things and you didn't learn these things, you could just leave your clients it just wouldn't turn out well. So,
Right.
like I said, it's
Right.
not easy. And you need to learn things. You need to be educated. You need to continually educate yourself and stay on top of the market and what's going on. So, anyway, I didn't mean to get up on that.
No,
I'm just going.
that's perfect.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what we want to hear. I mean,
yeah.
that's why this podcast is called the Entrepreneurial Agent,
Mhm.
because if you are a real estate agent, you are an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you
Right.
are converting, modern day alchemy, right? Lead to
Hmm.
gold.
Hmm.
That's a process. It takes
Right.
time.
Right.
And anyone who's ever started a business of any type
Hmm.
before will tell you that you have to wear a lot of hats
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you
You
have to put a
do.
lot of energy in to create
Hmm.
momentum, and you've got sales and marketing and
Hmm.
systems and administration and just all kinds of follow up
Right.
and follow through and all that,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Uh,
That's
and
it.
then maybe eventually you build a team and you sort of work yourself out of some of those
Yeah.
roles, but that's
Yeah.
not day one.
Right. Right. That is true, and I've never wanted a team, so I'm
Mm,
okay with it. I have a self-organized team, but I don't want a team with buyers agents and all that, but I'm
mhm,
happy to do what I've teamed up with a group that brand under my brand, and I love that. I love
mm.
the camaraderie, the collaboration, when one of us is out of town, you can look out for the other one, but I'm not one to have a team. I say that now, you never know, but I just don't see that in my future. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because a lot of times we don't know what's around the corner, right? And sometimes
Mhm.
those doors
Right.
open.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Never
mentioned
say
your
never. Never say never.
Yeah, I know. You mentioned before we turn on the record button that you're a person of faith, and so you just never know what doors, are gonna open there for you,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, talk about a little bit that, what are the things that, to be successful in real estate today, what are
Mhm.
the things, sort of the daily disciplines or the things that you have to commit to for this thing to
Right.
work out, regardless of the market, if it's a buyer's market, a seller's market, or
Right.
somewhere in between?
Right. Well, I mean, I think that, first of all, the relationships are very important. One of the things I learned early on in this business to be successful was to promote other people. I was in the business for about a year and a half, and I said, I got involved in a networking group in Richmond called Synapse, and it's all about promoting nonprofits and helping those nonprofits grow. It's not about promoting your business. I mean, you do get the opportunity to share about your business, but it's more about all those nonprofits. And that's how I got involved in the Relationship Foundation of Virginia, which is now the Fatherhood Foundation of Virginia. But I knew early on, and I think that's just part of a person of faith. Like I want to help other people. I want to promote businesses, people of interest, nonprofit. And as I did that, Paul, my business just opened up more and
Mm.
more and more.
Mhm.
Um, and not only was I getting business, it just sort of, I mean, it happened, but yeah, I felt good about what I was doing. I felt like I was right where God wanted me to be.
Mm.
And when God called my husband and I to Richmond, he was in seminary, and he called it, we really felt the strong calling to Richmond. And we felt that he called us here to make a difference in the community. And I mean, we did that through our church, and we've done that through our church. But it also, this being in real estate and him being a chaplain, it just kind of gave us another layer that we didn't even know existed. Because, I found that even in during transactions, sometimes I have the opportunity to maybe minister to someone and just
Mm.
share my faith. And I don't go in. I mean, I'm not saying like, Bible club, that
Sure.
like, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You open the door, God opens doors because you're willing, you're available. So anyway, so I've gotten business that way. I get off a little bit. Excuse me. I'd like to just kind of go. I told you I keep it real. I'll just run down something. But yeah, so relationships, and I'm not great with systems. However, I have leaned into them a little bit more because as I've learned the business, I've had people that have shown me things that work with systems, and I actually have a database. Whereas, gosh, up until just a few years ago, I didn't have a database.
Mm.
But so let's see. So the question was, how do I stay basically successful in the business? Is that what
Yeah.
you're
What
asking
what
me?
discipline? What
Yeah,
disciplines?
disciplines. Okay. Yeah.
Sort of daily things you have to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. So, promoting community and building those relationships. And, I'm not going to say I'm a cold caller. I used to be. I'm probably going to be having to do that a little more as this market is changing a bit.
Mhm.
I was early on. I'd make calls every day. I'm not going to say I'm not going to do it. I'm just not. Like I said, I'm not sure. I don't do that every day. I do call past clients. I do
Mm.
have a system where I am calling my past clients. I do about 5 a day and check on them.
Mhm.
I know when someone has a surgery, like I was supposed to have lunch after this call today with a client who just recently had a stroke. So I'll take lunch. I just do things like that. I'm about those
Mhm.
relationships. It's not just transactional for me if someone wants to, have that relationship. So, yeah, so just, knowing I know, just being sure that I know what's going on with my client. And here's the other thing about me. I have this mindset that I don't say past client.
Mm.
They're always my client,
Always your clients.
always
Right.
my client. And I think if I keep that mindset, it helps me stay in contact with them and, recognize their birthdays and, just little things that make a big difference. So they know that, you haven't forgotten about them. I have a mailer that goes out to them a quarterly, things
Mhm.
like that. And just keeping up. It's actually just a little magazine that I do. A lot of realtors probably do it, but it goes a long way. Just that little touch goes a long way. I work with the local vendors in the Richmond area and Williamsburg, where I do some real estate also in Williamsburg. But, just doing gifts at Christmas,
Mhm.
just a cookie jar with cookies in it from a local
Right.
cookie company. And they deliver them things that, you just want to stay in contact with your client. And I do quarterly client events, not anything on a grand scale, but I
Mhm.
do it with my team. We do coffee and donuts. We do pizza night. We do ice cream in the summer, ice cream truck, and everybody comes and they get a free ice cream and just staying
Oh,
in
nice.
contact. So just a quarterly, you know, I would like one day to do the big event. And we've talked about it. And I think I think we'll do that soon, but that is something on our radar. Yeah.
Well, that's yeah. So
Yeah.
it sounds like to me for you, where you are today and the things you do today are sort of the same things you did when you got started. Maybe not
Hmm.
as much cold calling, but really just building those relationships, letting them
Yeah.
know you're available and not being in their face, but
Right.
being, you talk about like if the opportunity prevents itself or presents itself sometimes like in a transaction, it's a really stressful process for people, right?
Hmm.
So you're walking them
Hmm.
through the
Hmm.
buying or selling of a house, and that's an opportunity to really build a good bond.
Right.
People sense too. My experience is they sense if you have their best interest at heart or you're just
Yeah.
trying to turn a transaction,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, that's what a lot of people, my reviews, I've noticed my reviews on Google or Zillow are always about the word pops out often, education, that
Mhm.
I love to educate my clients. And that's why I think I love first time home buyers. A couple of reasons. One, because I have young children and, I'm very, I say motherly, but I am kind of motherly, but I like to, make sure you understand the process because so many first time home buyers do not understand the
Right.
process. And I got a message yesterday from a girl on Facebook Messenger, and she just started asking me all these questions. She said, "You came highly recommended, and I have all these questions, and I don't know what I'm going to do at the beginning of the year, but I want to buy a house." And so
Mhm.
I just started sharing stuff with her, and at the end of the conversation, because I've never had so much good information, and I
Mhm.
promise you, when I buy a house, I will be calling you.
Yeah.
And she said, just the fact that you took the time to share so much with me, things to talk about, things to look out for, things to be doing in as I'm leading up to getting ready to do this. But so that, and then the empty nesters, and I think that's just because of where I am in life,
Mhm.
my age, and we've been through the process of our children growing up and, moving out of the home. So, and I love that too, because they also were, have a lot of questions about, you know, especially the past few years. Do we sell our house? Do we go buy something now? And I'm glad that most of them did decide to buy while the interest rates were really good. So worked in their favor. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that's good. First time home buyers, empty nesters seem to be, but then the empty nesters like to refer me to their children sometimes. So I do get, but sometimes when I have the ice cream events and kids do show up, so I do have kids that I work with.
Yeah, yeah, so
Yeah.
it's good. They kinda work
Yeah.
together. I can see
Yeah.
that
Well,
cycle.
one of my team members, her age is just like where she and her husband are in life with young kids. All of her clients have young kids. So we
Right.
always laugh when I have the coffee and donuts, my empty nesters show up more. And when we have the ice cream events, all the kids show up.
Yeah,
Huh,
yeah,
fun.
that is
Yeah.
funny. So, shifting gears a little bit
Yeah.
now, you've mentioned, we've come out of a kind of a crazy time. You reference interest rates and all that
Yeah.
in the housing market. What do you see today personally with your experience and where we are, the biggest challenge in the market, and how are
Hmm.
you attacking or addressing it?
The biggest challenge in the market. I think it changes every day right now. Right now, for me personally, the biggest challenge is listing a house and pricing it right. But I don't know if that's what you're asking. Are you talking about me personally or in general for the public? What's the biggest challenge?
I mean, either, because if it
Yeah.
affects you personally, then
Yeah.
it probably affects, more of a
Right.
larger body of
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so yeah, to the seller, certainly, pricing a house has been a little bit of a challenge the past month. I've got some investors that I work with that are trying to decide, do they buy? And, you know, a lot of them want to wait it out. And I've got two under contract right now. And well, one just closed and he said, "Oh my God, how soon do I have to have this house ready to flip?" And I said, "Well, actually, you're kind of in a good position. And this will get me to what I think sellers need to do right now. You're in a good position because you're about to completely remodel and renovate a house. And I think buyers are looking for that. I don't think in our market just yet, I think prices are leveling out. I do think we're going to have about a maybe 2 to 3% appreciation next year if
Mhm.
the things I read are correct. So the housing prices are not going to go down. The buyers are wanting everything tip top. So they want those new countertops. They want those new floors where, a year ago, that stuff might not have mattered as much. It really didn't matter as much. So I told my investors that you're actually in a good position. One is an investor that does rentals. One is an
Mhm.
investor that does flips. I said, so you're in a good position because you're going to completely renovate a house or houses. And then my other one, I said, rental market's strong. So, we're
Yeah.
finding him some deals and he's, you know, doing a little work to the house and making them look good. And so, but I think just, for sellers, we have to price it right. It has to be ready. I mean, it needs to look good. It needs to shine. We really need to make them shine. We stage them again. Of course, I always wanted to do that. I've been doing that anyway. And
Hmm.
professional photography and staging is really important. And I never let my foot off the gas on that. I mean, I still did those things because that's part of my business. And, I want to represent my clients well, and I want my stuff to look good when people look at my pictures on the internet. I mean, that's just, truth there.
Well, which
But,
is which is one of your systems that you said you're not a system person, but
yeah,
that is a
well, that's
system.
true. That is definitely a system.
Because whenever you
Yeah.
do something consistently like that, which is a great thing, I mean, that is a
Hmm.
systematic way to do it.
Right, right. And I always, during the last few years, I decided for every buyer, they're going to get either if they can't get a home inspection because it was so competitive.
Right.
I always offered my buyers a home inspection that I paid for it at closing.
Mhm.
And then if they couldn't get it because of the competition, they just get a credit for me of $500 at closing, or they can get a home warranty, from me. Either way, at closing, they'll get those. And then on the sell side, what I tried to do during the last few years with my sellers was like, I want you to get the home inspection so you can give buyers a little peace of mind. I don't want to know the results of it. And because if there's something wrong, like fix what you can fix, but if it's something we can offer to make to make them want to not have the inspection,
Mhm.
you know, and so I always try to offer those things. So I offer, the professional photography and drone if it's a big property and we need drone shots, and then staging and a home inspection if the sellers want it, and then on the buy side, like I said, I do the same thing or offer them a credit of that or offer them a home inspection at closing. I
Gotcha.
always try to have a little skin in the game too and let them think I really care, and
Yeah.
that just shows how much to me I care about my client's best
Mhm.
interest. I'm trying to help them sell their house. I'm trying to help the buyer, get the best situation they can. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because you want to know and what you're walking into or what you're
Hmm.
going to be selling and putting on the market what's,
Right.
behind door, the hidden wall. And I
Right.
know the last couple of years it's been sort of for informational purposes only, right? But
Hmm.
at least you
Hmm.
sort of know what you're walking into
Right.
or but we're not there anymore, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're at the sense that I get from people is a lot of the top realtors and just from people I'm talking to is it's really become more of shifting to a buyer's market, right? They're
Hmm.
now
Hmm.
have a little control where before they were, had no control,
Right. Right.
which is kind of nice, right? So you can negotiate
It
a
is.
little
It
bit.
is. It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Particularly for your first time home buyers that couldn't get in homes in a
Yeah.
lot of cases because they
Yeah.
weren't strong enough compared to
Hmm.
someone who had some
Yeah.
resources.
But I tell you what's been a challenge lately for me the past couple of months, and it's happened twice now, where, you get a listing, and once again, just going through that shift,
Mhm.
and they heard from their friends or their family
Mm.
members that they don't have to do all these things. They can just sell the house. And you're like,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, I just had one that I think, and they know it. They know it. It wasn't quite where I wanted it to be.
Mhm.
And it's it didn't sell for what they wanted it to sell. But they're okay and they're happy. And that's all I told them. I said, are you happy? In the end, I want you to be, because they would have, but had they had it a little more polished,
Mhm.
like we talked about, it could have turned out maybe a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know we're in the middle of that shift. I
Right.
mean, I really feel like we're right in the middle of that shift. So
And they have to adjust.
yeah,
Both buyers and sellers have to adjust their expectations, right?
yeah, absolutely,
And that's part of your
absolutely.
job, and sometimes you're beating
Hmm.
your head against the wall because, like you said, they got friends and neighbors who know it all, right? And
Yeah,
and,
well,
there's no shortage of opinions out there, particularly when it comes to real
so
estate, right?
true, so true. Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna adjust and we'll make it on the other side. And I mean, I think looking at the interest rate market with what's going on and inflation, we're gonna start seeing inflation numbers though in the reports coming down in the November report, and we're gonna start
Mhm.
coming down based upon
Okay.
year-over-year numbers. So we're gonna see that. We'll probably see a slowing of the economy in the first
Hmm.
quarter. So these things are gonna take take some of the heat out of the
Right.
interest rates.
Right.
And I think you're going to see, hopefully by the end of the first quarter, or at least the second quarter, we'll probably be back down in the low
Mhm.
fives, maybe around
Mhm.
5%. So that'll help as well. But we still don't have a lot of inventory, right? I mean,
True. True.
not
We're
so.
still not at all. I mean, I don't feel like I don't know what it's like in your area, but
Mhm,
I don't think in the Richmond market we've had the full impact of what a lot of the country, or a good portion of the country, from what I read, that they're experiencing. Our market is still pretty strong.
mhm,
Especially like in Chesterfield, Midlothian,
yeah,
parts of Hanover and Henrico, it's still pretty good. And I'm seeing some price adjustments,
mhm.
but like I said, I go back to, if the house sparkles and you have it move-in ready and you've done all those things that you need to do as a seller to get your house ready for the market, you're going to be in a much better position.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the
Yeah.
same thing too. I mean, I think if you look at the numbers, I call them the doom and gloom numbers that they
Hmm.
like to, if it bleeds, it leads, right? In the
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you take out the cities like, the San Franciscos, the Phoenixes, the San Diegos,
Hmm.
some of those very cyclical markets are always way
Right.
up and way down, right?
Yeah.
You take those numbers out, then actually the number that came out today from the FHFA said that the annual appreciation rate is like right around 12%,
Mm.
from last year.
Mm.
And even the National Association of Realtors chief economist thinks we're going to be 3-4% over the course of the year
Okay.
appreciation. So, again, there's some crazy areas. Real estate's local,
Yeah.
and we're seeing the same thing. But thank goodness we're not seeing 15 and 20% appreciation here every
Right.
year, right? That is just not sustainable. I mean,
Not
that's
at all.
crazy.
No, no, none of us would be in this business if that continued or that happened.
No,
Um,
and then sellers, that are complaining that maybe they can't extrapolate this appreciation. They
right.
just made 30% on their house in the last 2 years. It's like,
That's
okay,
right. That's
when you
right.
sell it, you're still going to do pretty good here, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, it's definitely been good for some sellers, that's for sure. That is for
Yeah.
sure. And
Yeah.
no doubt about that.
So, all right. Well, tell us something interesting, maybe funny. You've been in the business long enough to have some interesting or funny experiences in real estate. You've
Mhm.
got to have a
Yeah.
story or two that makes you laugh.
Oh, yeah. Well, it doesn't make you laugh or make you cry. It depends on how you look at it. Because I've had a couple of, ones that stand out. One I was alluding to a little earlier, it actually happened to me, and I don't know if you call this funny. I'm trying to think of a maybe funny. I'll tell you something I'm actually in right now that it maybe could be a little comical, but so I have a client under contract on a house, and the house basically is abandoned. Okay. So it's let me just say it's a vacant property, and
Mhm.
we had put some things in the offer that was accepted by the seller that this person could go and do to the property prior to settlement. Well, when his contractor went over there, his contractor doesn't speak English,
Okay.
and so he thought that when he was over there to do the things that were in the contract that he could do, he said, "Well, while I'm here, I'll just go ahead and do dot 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 dot." Okay. Well, you didn't have permission to do those, but he thought that his buyer, or he thought the buyer already owned the house.
Ah,
Otherwise, he wouldn't be there doing those things. So
right.
he ripped off the deck, he took up the carpet, he took off the gutters, and yeah, so and we didn't own the property. So I get a call from the agent blasting me saying, "You gave them access to inside the house." And I was like, "No, I didn't." Well, they went in because the back door was unlocked. Well,
Ah,
it's a vacant house, and
you're
I had
right.
no idea any of this was going on, Paul. It was, like
Ah,
I said, I don't know if it was really funny. It's kind of funny now, but I look back,
yeah. Yeah.
but yeah. No, I
Funny.
don't, I don't even know if you call that funny. It could have turned out to be catastrophe, actually, but it's working out. But yeah, that's like, you don't do that, do
Yeah.
not do that.
No, that is funny.
Yeah.
It's a sort of a comedy of errors.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of interesting stories. I've heard many of them over the years. Well, Vicky, it's hard to believe, but we're pretty much running out of
Wait. All
time.
right. Okay. So
Yeah,
on our 30
tell
minutes.
tell everyone how they can get in contact with you if they want some help in the Williamsburg, New Kent, Richmond area.
Yeah. So I live in New Kent, Eastern Hanover. But yeah, I'd love to help anyone that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. My name is Vickie Coleman. I am the team lead and owner of Front Porch Partners, and we are brokered by eXp Realty. And my number is 804-221-9123. And I'd love to help you.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great. And we'll have that in the show notes too, so people
sounds
can
good.
pick up the
Paul,
number.
thank you so much. You've been so kind. And I'm not a podcast person. So
Ah,
I mean, I told you that earlier. This is not my thing, but I do love it. And I mean, I did enjoy talking with you, and I always enjoy talking about your relationships in real estate. So
yeah.
thanks
Well,
so
you did
much.
great. I'm glad you came
Yeah.
on. You're a natural
Thank
for
you.
this, Vicky.
Well, thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you. If I start a podcast, I'll have you on mine. How about that? There we go.
Well, that'd be great. I look
Yeah.
forward to that call.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time today. God bless you.
All right, you too. Bye now.
Thanks. Bye bye.